You are sitting in seat 24C, tray table down, watching the safety demo you have seen 100 times. But what if I told you some parts of the flying experience are shaped not only by safety, but also by liability, economics, and passenger psychology? Airlines have spent decades balancing safety, efficiency, and cost, and some of those decisions may surprise you. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you will never look at a boarding pass the same way again. And if you like uncovering the hidden side of air travel, hit that subscribe button right now, because this channel, Aviation History Hub, digs up the stories the airlines would rather keep buried. Before we go further, a quick note. This video is for information and entertainment purposes only. It is based on publicly reported cases, industry practices, and aviation research, not on any single airline's internal policy, and it is not medical, legal, or safety advice for your specific flight. Let's start with the mask drop above your head. You have heard the announcement 1,000 times. Put your own mask on before helping others. Here's the part they gloss over. Those little yellow masks are only feeding you oxygen for around 15 minutes. If the cabin suddenly loses pressure at cruising altitude, you have roughly 10 to 15 seconds of useful consciousness before your brain starts to shut down from lack of oxygen, and you will not feel it building up. You will simply pass out. That 15-minute window exists because it is usually just enough time for the pilots to dive the aircraft down to a breathable altitude. And here's a detail most passengers never learn. The crew's own oxygen masks are wired differently than yours, built with tiny microphones so the crew can keep talking to each other even mid-emergency. Now think about where you are sitting. Some analyses of past accidents have suggested passengers seated toward the rear of the aircraft have, on average, had higher survival rates in certain types of crashes. However, every accident is different, and no seat can be considered universally the safest. Meanwhile, the flight attendant jump seats almost always face backward, and that is not an accident either. In a hard impact, a rear-facing seat spreads the force across your back instead of throwing your body forward, which dramatically lowers the risk of neck and spinal injury. Crew seats also use heavier duty harnesses than yours. Why don't passengers get the same setup? Partly because equipping hundreds of seats with heavier belts adds real weight, and weight burns fuel and money. And partly because most travelers, given the choice, actually prefer facing forward, because psychologically it feels safer to face the direction you're moving. While we're talking seats, here's a number that might annoy you. Back in the 1970s, average legroom on a commercial jet was around 35 inches. Today it has shrunk to roughly 31, and seat width has narrowed too. More rows means more paying customers per flight, plain and simple. Airport security lines are also prime hunting ground for thieves, and sometimes the people you're told to trust are the problem. There have been real, documented cases of security staff caught pocketing cash or valuables from travelers distracted while emptying pockets and bins. Theft doesn't stop at the gate either. Cabin crews and pilots have described organized groups working long-haul routes, especially overnight flights, where one person distracts while another quietly searches an overhead bag once the cabin lights go down. If you want to protect yourself, keep valuables in the bag under the seat in front of you, and if something has to go in the overhead bin, turn the zipper toward the back so nobody can dip in without pulling the whole bag out first, which you'd notice. Now for something genuinely unsettling. For most of aviation history, planes flying over open ocean essentially vanished from radar the moment they left the coastline, because radar coverage only reaches a few hundred miles from land. Beyond that, aircraft relied on periodic radio check-ins every 10 to 15 minutes. When Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 disappeared in 2014, it exposed just how much of the sky was genuinely untracked. That disaster pushed the industry toward a satellite-based tracking system that now reports an aircraft's position, altitude, and speed roughly every half second. And today, the large majority of commercial jets carry it. It is a massive improvement, though not a complete guarantee, since power failures or equipment malfunctions can still create gaps. Here's one that might put you off that in-flight coffee. Airlines are typically only required to fully drain and sanitize onboard water tanks a handful of times a year. In between, tanks just get topped up. Some independent studies and inspections have found bacteria or water quality issues on certain aircraft, which is why some frequent flyers prefer sealed bottled drinks instead of tap water and skip washing hands with aircraft sink water too. On board, there's more hidden equipment than you'd expect. Restraints for unruly passengers, defibrillators, and fire axes to break through panels during an electrical fire. Many modern aircraft also include cockpit surveillance cameras or viewing systems that help pilots see outside the cockpit door before opening it, though not every aircraft in service has this. And on some carriers, cabin crew actually train in close-quarters self-defense because they may need to physically restrain a dangerous passenger before the aircraft can even land. If you're wondering why a flight attendant seems to vanish for a while on a long-haul flight, they are probably not avoiding your pretzel requests. They are sleeping. Long routes carry backup crew who rotate through hidden rest compartments tucked above the cabin, accessed through what looks like an unmarked locker or a narrow stairwell behind a galley wall. Pilots get their own separate bunks too, since duty rules only allow them to be on shift for a set number of hours before rest becomes mandatory, and studies have suggested a surprising number of pilots have nodded off briefly at the controls during long cruise segments, which is exactly why rotating rest exists. Crew also speak in code specifically so passengers don't panic. A reference to a passenger passing away on board might be phrased as an angel or a code with a number attached. A minor medical issue might get one label, while a genuine security threat gets another. Sometimes tied to a transponder code, pilots can quietly transmit to alert ground control that something serious, like a hijacking, is unfolding. There are even informal nicknames crew use for passengers who sprawl across empty rows, or for the more demanding flyers among us. Let's talk about that door everyone jokes about mid-flight. Could someone actually force a plane door open at altitude? Almost all modern jets use plug-type doors, which are pressed into the frame by the enormous pressure difference between the cabin and the thin air outside, essentially sealing themselves shut. At cruising altitude, opening one by hand is close to physically impossible. After the infamous 1971 case of a hijacker who parachuted from a jet with a ransom in cash, manufacturers added mechanical safeguards specifically designed to prevent that scenario from repeating. And about airplane mode, it is not just theater. Although there is little evidence that a single phone could endanger an aircraft, aviation authorities still require airplane mode because transmitting devices can sometimes create unwanted interference with aircraft systems or cockpit communications, particularly during critical phases of flight like the descent below 10,000 feet, when pilots are managing an enormous workload tracking traffic, adjusting for weather, and coordinating with air traffic control. One more thing that quietly affects your flight: fuel. Carrying extra fuel adds weight, and extra weight burns more fuel. So airlines calculate careful margins, sometimes tighter than passengers realize, and unexpected weather, congestion, or diversions can require careful fuel management, which is why pilots continuously monitor fuel reserves and have procedures for requesting priority handling or diverting when necessary. If any of this surprised you, imagine how much more is buried in aviation history that never makes the headlines. That is exactly what this channel exists to dig up. Drop a comment telling me which one shocked you the most. Share this with someone who is nervous about flying, and subscribe if you want more of these deep dives. One last reminder before you go: everything in this video is drawn from publicly available reporting and general industry knowledge for educational purposes, and it is not a substitute for official airline or aviation authority guidance. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.